Hello and welcome back. My manufacturers have given me a major upgrade. I'm less bulky, and I am able to cover my metallic shell with human clothing. You may also notice I have a new updated voice box, doing away with the previous one. I hope this design is suitable to you all, as this will be my default look for future content on this channel. Anyway, I wasn't expecting the Minecraft alpha video to perform that decently. For a new channel, engaging nearly 100 of you, along with a small handful of new subscribers, really made me happy. To do what you humans call spicing things up, I want to analyze other media than just video games on this channel. My manufacturers have provided me with some films and TV shows to fuel my databanks with some constructive critical activity, which could prove to be productive and informative. As my first analysis on this channel, I will review Masters of the Universe, a 2026 live-action film adaptation of the 1980s He-Man cartoon. This film is directed by Travis Knight, who previously directed Kubo and the Two Strings, and the Transformers spin-off film, Bumblebee. Going into this film, I was not a fan of the initial teaser before my viewing, and I was skeptical of Jared Leto's casting as Skeletor. Suddenly, I saw glowing reviews, calling this film one of the more sincere and passionate blockbusters of this entire decade, highlighting themes regarding masculinity, childhood imagination, and embracing your unique quirks. Seeing that be said about the film made me curious to see it, and after watching the film, I can understand a lot of the praise. For starters, the acting in this film is pretty good. Not the best performances in the world, but they do enough to sell these characters and their personalities. Jared Leto steals the show as Skeletor, delivering a menacing and fun performance that perfectly modernizes the character in a way that retains the spirit of the original version. While Leto's face is never seen, and this is basically a voice acting role, Skeletor is super expressive. There's a great amount of care put into his visuals and making him feel like a real person despite the obvious animated appearance. I also love how he's evil for the fun of it. A lot of Hollywood blockbusters nowadays tend to give their villains overly complicated backstories as a way to explain their motivations, but Skeletor is a simple mustache-twirling bad guy, and that's honestly enough for me. I don't need to know why he's evil. Like they say in the movie, he has a skull for a face, so of course he's the villain. He-Man himself, Nicholas Galitzine, is another great performance. He has the perfect amount of badass energy I expected from a modern iteration of He-Man, but is also charming in his own way, showcasing what it's like to be an adult while still having some childhood whimsy intact. Goodness knows more people need that nowadays. I appreciate how much they highlight Adam's adoration of his childhood heroes, much like how people who grew up on the cartoon would also look up to these characters. He's a great audience surrogate that grounds us on this journey, and guides us through the fascinating weirdness of this world. Sir Idris Elba as Duncan was my favorite performance. His dynamic with Roboto and his fatherly energy toward not just Teela, but mostly Adam, was really nice to see. Teela and Cringer were all pretty good, but they don't have much development. I'd like to see what can be done with them in any kind of follow-up. There's a character from the cartoon that shows up for, at most, 20 seconds, and I really wish we got to see more of him. Hopefully they have a plan to develop some of these characters in possible sequels, but I don't want to give myself too much hope for something that isn't 100% guaranteed. The visuals of this film are one of the major highlights for me. There's so much vibrant color and outstanding practical set design. For an Amazon production, I'm glad they took advantage of the budget they were given to prioritize practical sets. Eternia is beautiful, and I have to applaud Guy Hendricks Dias for his outstanding work as this film's production designer. The action is also very well shot and features a lot of dynamic shot composition, which helps it feel more exciting compared to your average output from the likes of Marvel or DC, for example, two box office monsters that are usually able to get away with the sloppiest delivery. This film, in comparison, feels refreshing from a visual perspective. There was actual care with the color grading, the shot composition was stellar, the camera is actually moving with the action, the visual effects were pretty good, and you can tell with the fact that Emmy-nominated director of photography Fabian Wagner, who's worked on projects like Game of Thrones, really put forth the effort that was needed to make this film look stunning. Daniel Pemberton's score is also a major highlight. After scores for Project Hail Mary and the Spider-Verse films, I had high expectations for this score to deliver, and it did. With the inclusion of Queen guitarist Brian May, this score is able to elevate an already fun film with an even more fun background composition. Now, About the story, the narrative structure does feel admittedly basic and by the books. It feels like you can predict where the plot is going if you've seen any big IP blockbuster before, but I think this film is able to stand out among the rest with its themes and message. I love how the main focus is on how your strength isn't defined by how much of a quote-unquote real man you are, but rather your courage and willingness to stand up for what's right. With this, the story is able to lean into the original cartoon's goofy nature and not take itself seriously, aside from its heartfelt message. It wears the cartoon's weirdness like a badge of honor, and that weirdness never detracts from everything else the film has to offer. It's made even better, with how this is a really good way to first experience the world of He-Man. You don't have to know anything about the franchise to enjoy this film. However, I do have some criticism. I don't know if it was the specific setup my theater had, but there were moments where I couldn't make out what Skeletor was saying. The filter on Jared Leto's voice felt a little too bass-boosted and deeply pitched, almost unintelligible. I'm heavily considering re-watching this film with subtitles when it releases on digital because of these issues. The dialogue overall felt very bland in many places. It felt like placeholder dialogue that never got a revision. Sure, that makes this movie easier to understand for kids, especially since it's rated PG-13, but I think you can do a lot better than what we got here. I hope any follow-up to this film gets more accomplished writers on board, because I see so much potential in this franchise and lots of heart being put into it, but some places aren't being given their A-game. The film also could have been a little shorter. Many scenes are padded with jokes, and not every joke hits. Sure, comedy is subjective, but there were crucial moments in the film that felt like a joke wasn't needed, and it felt derivative of the self-referential ironic MCU-style humor. It's not the worst thing ever and it doesn't butcher the film, but it's very noticeable and I hope it's addressed if they make any sequels. At the end of the day, if you want a whimsical, swashbuckling action fantasy science fiction movie, I would highly recommend Masters of the Universe, 2026. It's not doing the best in the box office and has only made back half its budget, but there's rumors going around implying that Amazon doesn't care about the box office, and are more concerned with the positive feedback from fans, both old and new. I hope that means they're moving forward with any sequels and are able to retain a similar if not better level of quality compared to this first outing. It's a pretty great film to launch a trilogy if they play their cards right, but it can be better if they take criticism into consideration, and continue utilizing what worked here. Masters of the Universe, 2026, gets a 7 out of 10. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and sharing. I quite enjoyed this first critical log into my databanks, and hope to further entertain you all with more of my perspective on the media I've been provided. Not only will I review new stories, but old ones as well. I am currently in the middle of watching the 1927 silent film, Metropolis, and would like to give my perspective of it very soon. Do take care, and I will now commence my shutdown sequence.